Welcome to the Jerry and Jerry Show. My name is Jerry Miller. Thank you kindly for joining us, guys. I've been looking forward to this program for a long time. We have live action. We have week 1 to cover. We have week 2 to look forward to. And Tony Elliott's Virginia football team laid the smackdown on the Chanticleers of Coastal Carolina. Chandler Morris, as good as advertised. The only thing that did not go well for Virginia football in this week 1 outing was an injury to the transfer portal quarterback Chandler Morris. That is a key cog to this team. And to call him a key cog is an understatement. We'll talk about the Chandler Morris injury with Jerry Ratcliffe today. We'll talk Cam Ross, the JMU transfer that was absolutely scintillating, absolutely electric, a dynamic player on the football field. The running game, the passing game. We'll talk defense. Virginia football clicking on absolutely all cylinders in week 1, as they should have been against a team like Coastal Carolina. I'll ask you, the viewer and listeners, this question. Is the offense this good, or is Coastal Carolina's defense that bad? We'll take a look at the week 2 matchup with the NC State Wolfpack. I watched NC State play on Thursday night against the East Carolina Pirates. NC State is a much better football team than Coastal Carolina. And right now, the Wolfpack on Tuesday morning are a 2.5-point favorite. And guys, this is a nationally televised broadcast on ESPN2. So Tony Elliott's going to have a lot of eyeballs on his football team. We'll talk the rest of the Atlantic Coast Conference. Virginia Tech hangs tough against South Carolina until the Gamecocks post 14 points in the fourth quarter to pull away in front of a nationally televised audience. And how about the Florida State Seminoles? Man, did they shellac the Crimson Tide of Alabama. Clemson falls to LSU. Miami beats Notre Dame at the end of a contest. Week 1, as good as advertised. Judah Wickhauer behind the camera, studio camera, 2-shot Jerry Ratcliffe, the Virginia Sports Hall of Famer, the namesake of JerryRatcliffe.com. I got a little pep in my voice because we have live action to cover, Jerry Ratcliffe.
Yeah, it's fun, isn't it?
It is fun. It is fun.
Finally have football to celebrate. But
so many different ways that I can ask you which unit needs to perform the best over the summer and training camp for this team to have success.
Yeah, I mean, they stepped up in every phase of the game, and that I know that's what delighted probably Tony Elliott more than anything, was just that they played complementary football, offense, defense, special teams, not many penalties, no turnovers. He couldn't have asked for a much better debut other than having his quarterback injured, and tons of speculation on what that could be. It's a AC joint shoulder injury, and where the collarbone and shoulder bone meet. And what I looked up, there's 6 degrees of possibility on that, or severity on that injury. So it could be something mild, or it could be something that could keep you out for a while. And it'll be interesting to see what Tony Elliott says about that in the press conference later this morning, but he's not obligated to tell anyone because of the rules, and so it's just a matter of his choice as to whether he wants to reveal the status of Chandler Morris going forward this week.
Chandler Morris, guys, the talk of town right now, and as he should be. Goodness gracious, the guy was the leading rusher for the football team. After a tough couple of drives, he really did a great job of spreading the wealth, Chandler Morris, in the 48-7 victory against the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers. Let me give you a pretty impressive stat line, Hootie Ratcliffe, for Chandler Morris, who is basically the same age as Jaden Daniels, the starting quarterback for the Washington Commanders. This guy had complete control after a few drives of this offense and looked like the game was in slow motion to him for most of the outing. 19 of 27 passing, 264 yards through the air. That's an average basically of 10 yards a throw. 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. He had 5 carries for 50 yards. He spread the wealth. Cam Ross, 7 catches. Terrell Harris, 3 catches. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different guys who caught a pass. 9 different guys on this team caught a pass, which was absolutely amazing to me. Chandler Morris looked good out of the pocket. He looked good rolling right. He looked good rolling left. He looked good in the pocket. He had control of the offense. The only mistake this kid makes the entire game is potentially not going down with a slide at the goal line. But I understand where he's going with pay dirt within sight. Where do you want to start with the gunslinger Chandler Morris?
Well, you're right, and he saw daylight and he wanted to score. I mean, he told Tony Elliott when he was laying on the ground that he really wanted to score, and can't blame him for that. But he should have slid. That's what they're taught to do, and I guess he thought he could get that extra couple of yards. But all those numbers you just recited, Jerry, that was only in one half of football, right, plus one possession. And so, who knows how more impressive they would have been had he not got injured. I don't know how much longer he might have played with the team rolling like they did, but his numbers could have been even more impressive.
This comment comes in. Did Tony Elliott make a mistake playing Chandler Morris that long? And that, ladies and gentlemen, is from the Panhandle of South Florida.
No, I don't think so. He first game of the season, things are going well. You want to give your quarterback and your starters as much exposure as you can in that first game, even if they are winning by a lopsided score. You want to get them as much game experience as you can, because we've got a big game this week, and certainly that's something that they were looking ahead to try to let him hone in on just getting back in the saddle again. So I don't think if he'd have played him beyond 3 quarters, I think probably would have been maybe stretching it, but I don't think he played him too long Saturday night.
UVA's got NC State, folks. Saturday, high noon, kickoff 12 p.m. in Raleigh. NC State, ladies and gentlemen, is, depending on where you shop, a 2.5 to 3 point favorite. The line opened at 3, down to 2.5 now on most platforms. NC State saw live action this past Thursday against East Carolina, where they beat the Pirates 24-17. I'm going to tell you right now, I watched that NC State-East Carolina game closely. NC State's better than Coastal Carolina. East Carolina is better than Coastal Carolina. So the matchup week 2 against the Wolfpack is going to be a stiffer test. Then you throw in the road element. And this team has not done well on the road over an extended period of time.
That's true. And NC State seems like they've always been tough to beat at home. They've been in that stadium for a long time, and they sell out just about every game, I think. And Dave Doran's a good coach. He's been there for a long time. He's trying to bounce his team back from a less than impressive year, and that's the one game I wanted to see over the weekend that I didn't get to see, but didn't even get to see a replay of it. But I understand East Carolina was threatening there at the end, right?
East Carolina was in the ball game the whole time.
Yeah.
East Carolina's got a good football team. East Carolina wanted to win that football game. East Carolina's offense slowed in the middle portion of the game. I watched that game. NC State won the second and third periods 21-7. And then the Pirates hang 10 in the fourth quarter to make it a one-possession contest. But East Carolina's a good football team.
Yeah.
Especially in the first week of the season.
And they beat NC State in the bowl game several months ago. And and that's a fierce rivalry. So I'm not surprised it was close. But it's going to be a test for Virginia to walk into Carter Finley Stadium and come out with the win. That's for sure.
We're going to talk, ladies and gentlemen, that matchup against the Wolfpack in a matter of moments. We'll highlight South Carolina's victory against Virginia Tech. The Hokies they hung tough. The Hokies hung tough on national TV. The heat is rising for Brent Pry, ladies and gentlemen. Florida State gets a monumental victory against Alabama. Miami, goodness gracious, what a win against Notre Dame. SMU shellacks their Week 1 opponent. And Bill Belichick gets humiliated on Monday Night Television And Clemson, guys, their offense sputters against the LSU Tigers. We'll stick with UVA and Coastal Carolina, however. And goodness gracious, can I bring up the wide receiver Cam Ross? I think he's still outrunning everybody right now.
I wouldn't be surprised at that. And so is Terrell Harris, for that matter. I don't know which one of those two is faster, but talk about speed to burn. Both of those guys are really impressive when it comes to that. They've got two legitimate deep threats there, and I think maybe more than that, actually. But those two, wow. I wouldn't want to have to be trying to cover those guys in man coverage, that's for sure.
Another thing that stood out to me in the Coastal Carolina matchup, the starting tailback Jamari Taylor.
As good as advertised, some of the I think it was Keith Gaither, the running backs coach, that said he thought he was as good as any running back in the ACC, and
that's saying something.
That is saying something because there's some quality backs in the conference, and I don't know if he's on par with those guys or not. I haven't seen enough of him to tell that, but he's certainly a really good running back, and he gets the tough yards. He loves running in between the tackles, but he can go outside too. He has decent speed, and he showed us the other night that he's for real. And I mean, he beat out Xavier Brown for the starting job, and that's wasn't going to be easy to do. But he's legit, and he can catch the ball too coming out of the backfield. So seems to be a complete back.
He, ladies and gentlemen, Jamari Taylor. Finished with 2 touchdowns. He is a tank at 5'9" and flirting with 210 pounds. This is the kid who transferred from North Carolina Central. He played 4 seasons where he was the conference best player in the conference at North Carolina Central this past year. So good that Virginia Tech sent an assistant coach to recruit this guy. During a live football game, the Hokie assistant creeps down to the sidelines and is trying to romanticize and seduce Jamari Taylor to Blacksburg. During live action, he chooses the University of Virginia instead. And in week 1, ladies and gentlemen, the guy makes a statement with 2 touchdowns. The backfield looks loaded. This backfield looks absolutely loaded for UVA. I know it's week 1. I know it was Coastal Carolina. But they got horses in this backfield.
All 4 of those running backs played. And Harrison Whaley from Wyoming and Noah Vaughn, a kid from Kentucky. They all were impressive and all got carries, and that's saying something to give 4 running backs exposure in the first game, and that's something that will come in handy to have fresh legs as long as you can keep them healthy, and that's another feather in Virginia's cap. Another thing that just speaks to the depth of this football team.
The Virginia rush and attack, 42 carries, 177 yards on the ground, 4.2 a tote, 3 rushing touchdowns, led by Chandler Morrison rushing. The question's all over the feed. Hootie Ratcliffe, is this a concussion disguised as an AC shoulder injury?
I don't think so. Everybody in the press box thought it was a concussion early on.
Because he wobbled.
He did wobble, and but we watched him through the binoculars some, and he was engaging in conversation with teammates on the bench and coaches and stuff. And I mean, he probably took a pretty good shot there, but it was diagnosed as a AC joint injury, and we had to go with that. But I'm certainly no doctor, and I couldn't tell, but that's what Tony Elliott said, and we'll go with that until anything else arises.
Cliff Daisy watching on the Eastern Shore. Good morning, gentlemen. Have eagerly awaited this episode. Enjoyed the game immensely. Been a long time feeling this good watching a UVA game. I believe the Hoos can win at NC State. He predicts a 28-14 UVA victory in Raleigh. He said he also watched the Virginia Tech game. What stood out to me was that as good as drones looked, they never made the end zone against South Carolina. We'll talk Hokies. Why don't we touch on them briefly? Virginia Tech was in that ball game.
Yeah, they were. They played
South
well.
Carolina got a scare.
Yeah. You could tell that Shane Beamer was on edge a little bit. He was concerned, a little worried, and his team wasn't playing, I don't think, as well as he expected them to. And then Virginia Tech was maybe playing a little better than some people anticipated, but they took them down, like you said, into the fourth quarter before they were able to pull away and break that game open.
24-11, South Carolina beats the Hokies. At halftime, ladies and gentlemen, this was a 10-8 ball game with the game clocks clinging to a 2-point lead. Through the third quarter, ladies and gentlemen, the score remained 10-8. And then South Carolina hangs 14 points in the fourth quarter to the lone Hokie field goal to win 24-11. And this is a South Carolina football team that's top 15 in the country. The heat is on Virginia Tech, ladies and gentlemen, and Brett Pry. More on the Hokies in a matter of moments. Can we talk JMU transfer Cam Ross some more? The viewers and listeners want us to discuss him. 7 catches, 124 yards, an average per catch of 17.7 yards, 1 touchdown. This is a guy that some thought would be, a special team standout, a return standout. We never anticipated potentially this kind of impact catching the football. We knew Trell Harris was good. He had 3 catches for 93 yards. Trell Harris, an average of 31 yards a catch. Did we know Cam Ross was going to be this good?
Not at the beginning of camp, but as I reported throughout camp, he was really lighting it up, and the coaches were blown away by his capabilities. They didn't realize exactly what they had, I don't think, until he started proving it on the field. And they already knew he had speed, but the fact that he's able to get open and if anybody's close to him, he's going to pull away. He's got tremendous speed, as we saw on that 100-yard kickoff return for a touchdown that tied the school record. But this guy's legit. I mean, the JMU coaches loved the guy when he was there last year. I'm not sure UConn knew what they had when he was up there for a few years. This is his 7th year of football, so this guy's got tons of experience, and he's hungry. He's always had a little chip on his shoulder because he's not the biggest guy in the world, and he's always been trying to prove himself, and he's always wanted to play at the Power 4 level so he could show everyone he's as good as he thinks he is, and he certainly did that Saturday night.
Shout out one of the best RNs and nurses in the game, Emily Perry.
Yes.
She's watching the program right now.
Hey, Emmy, how you doing?
She shares the show, gives you some love.
Well, love back. She's a special girl.
She's his granddaughter.
Yeah, absolutely.
Watching the program.
Big football fan.
I can tell.
Yeah.
James Madison watching the program. Literally, the gentleman's name is James Madison.
That's awesome.
He says, how about the Who special teams? Best I've seen in a long time. Can you talk about it?
Yeah, well, they made some strides last year. 2 years ago, they were some of the worst special teams in the country, and that stuck in their crawl. Last year, they upgraded almost every one of those special teams, and Tony Elliott spoke to this the other day and was talking about how some of the Virginia players who have made it to the NFL have sent specific videos and messages back to the team this year and talked about how important it is to play special teams, and that they found that out once they got into the NFL, that the easiest way to get on the field is to prove yourself as a special teams player and to really put forth an effort. And I think that's made an strong impression on a lot of these guys that came in. You've got so many guys on this roster now with a lot of experience from every corner of the country, and a lot of them are fighting for playing time, and again, that's a good way to get on the field is through special teams, and they've definitely upgraded every phase of their special teams play, and their kickoff return team has got to be ranked pretty high this week, I would think, after that 100-yard return.
Michael Murphy watching the program in Baltimore, Maryland. If Chandler Morris is hurt, Who's the number 2 quarterback? I think we got some clarity on that.
Yeah, it's Danny Kalen for sure.
He's a completely different quarterback than Chandler Morris.
Yeah, he's a drop back guy. He's taller, a pocket quarterback.
Maybe a stronger arm.
He can run it if he has to, but yeah, he may have a stronger arm. Doesn't have the experience, obviously.
Nor the athleticism.
Right. Came here from Nebraska. He was highly recruited, went to Nebraska, and was probably their future quarterback until they recruited the Raiola kid, who was a 5-star and came in and started as a true freshman. They left Kalen redshirted and on the bench, and Kalen decided to get out of there. Virginia had tried to recruit him out of high school unsuccessfully, but they went after him and liked what they saw and convinced him to come here. He was actually on the roster before Chandler Morris was. They felt like they needed to get an experienced guy. But we saw a little bit of him the other night, probably not under the best circumstances, playing essentially mop-up duty. But
mediocre numbers.
Mediocre numbers. His first college football game.
Yep.
We got to remember that.
3 of 9 passing, 39 yards through the air.
He'll get better with more
26,
time.
through the air.
Yeah, he'll get better with more time and more exposure. But I'm sure that even though he's been on a college roster before, he didn't get to play in any games, and the game hasn't slowed down for him yet like it has for Morris and a more experienced quarterback. But he will, without doubt, will be the starter, and if Morris isn't unable to go. So, just remember that the kid, this is his first exposure to gameplay.
Who's the starting quarterback against the NC State Wolfpack?
Wow, I have no clue. Tony Elliott said after the game the other night that he was hopeful that
that line's going to move significantly if Chandler Morris is not the starting quarterback.
Yeah.
That 2.5 points is based on Chandler Morris being the starting quarterback.
I would think so, or at least in doubt.
Yeah.
But the first report out of his mouth was it might not be that bad. I don't know how much stock you can put into that, but we just don't know. And we may not know. If he chooses to keep it to himself, to keep Dave Doran guessing about who he's going to have to prepare for, there's always a little gamesmanship going on with that. And that's why they have gone to the policy for conference games that you had to put forth an injury report. They did that a few years ago, and I think a lot of coaches still fudged on that, but they went away from it, and now they're back to it again. But this is not a conference game, even though they're both the ACC members. I was asked about that a few times over the weekend on Twitter, but
what, has this ever happened? Playing an ACC opponent in a non-conference game?
I don't think that's ever happened with Virginia. I'm pretty sure it hasn't. It has happened with some other schools in the conference and even some other conferences, but it's something new to Virginia, and I can't say that I'm real crazy about playing a conference team in a non-conference game. I'd rather see them go outside the conference and play somebody. But
I think this is a huge trap game. We've said it's the most important game on the schedule. I think this is a huge trap game.
Yeah, I mean, if they can get by Raleigh, they could easily go 4-0 coming into the Florida State game.
And Florida State looks really good.
Florida State blew my mind.
Me too.
The way that they manhandled Alabama. And Alabama just didn't look like the Nick Saban teams of old, and you got to really wonder what's going to happen down in Tuscaloosa, because they're kind of stuck with Kevin DeBoer, but he has a $70 million buyout, and I mean, wow, what a predicament you're in.
$70 million.
And Alabama doesn't have the Texas oil money like all those schools in those conferences where they got rid of Jimbo Fisher with a big price tag on his buyout. But
At Texas A&M.
yeah, so that's going to be a drama down there for some time.
$70 million buyout. It just boggles my mind. James Watson, Kevin Yancey, we're going to get to your comments in a matter of moments here. Let's say it's an AC joint. Let's talk the positives of the shoulder injury. Let's just say it's not a concussion. Folks are speculating it's a concussion because the kid wobbled. He looked wobbly. It looked like he got clipped on the side of the head. Let's just, glass is half full, it's a shoulder injury. Here are the positives of the shoulder injury. It's not his throwing arm. That's the first positive. Second positive of the shoulder injury is you could potentially play through this. This happens.
Mm-hmm.
The negative of this being a shoulder injury is that's an injury that could linger.
True.
Like linger for a while. And we're in week 1. It's not like we're in the back half of the season here.
Exactly.
And the competition's getting tougher, not easier.
Yes.
How else do you see it if it's a shoulder injury?
It just depends on what grade of injury it is. I mean, it can be something mild that you can play with. Maybe they can tape it up, stuff like that, and put some kind of brace on it. Maybe I'm not a doctor, so I don't know what I'm talking about. Really, I'm just speculating.
Quarterbacks do play through non-throwing shoulder injuries.
Yeah, but it just depends on how severe or non-severe that it is. And again, that's the $64,000 question heading into this week, and we may get an answer at 11:30. We may not.
Jerry Ratcliffe's got a press conference with Tony Elliott at 11:30 and T-minus 48 minutes. Kevin Yancey in Waynesboro says that was not a shoulder injury. That boy got his bell rung. I thought the same. Kevin Yancey says, I don't think this team is at the level y'all anticipated. With the look of NC State, it'll be a long game. So he's got the Wolfpack, Kevin Yancey. Always the bear, Kevin Yancey. Never the bull, Kevin Yancey. But every team and every listenership and viewership needs a bear. He embraces that role of playing the bear, and I'm totally fine with that.
Yeah, I have no problem with that. I mean, you got to consider that it was against Coastal Carolina, and that was a rebuilt roster with a new coordinator on both sides of the ball. They were getting accustomed to a new system.
Coastal Carolina looked terrible.
Virginia blew them out last year
Yeah.
at Coastal Carolina with a more experienced roster. I think Coastal will probably be fine in their own conference. I don't think they're a contender for it, from what I understand. I think they're in the same division as JMU.
Interestingly, the Coastal Carolina quarterback was initially started his career at NC State.
Yes.
Then transferred to Maryland.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's the Coastal Carolina quarterback trying to lead a new offense, an air raid attack, a Mike Leach type style air raid attack.
Yeah.
They look, downright sad.
Yeah, they were totally outclassed in every facet of the game. And so you can't read too much into that, just like you couldn't read too much into last year's win over Coastal. And certainly this will be a much stiffer test in Raleigh. I've covered the ACC for a long, long time, and wins in Raleigh normally don't come easy. And it's a rabid environment. They play fierce football at home. They defend their turf pretty well. They're coming off a lackluster year, and as Dave Clawson said on the ACC network last week, he said, Dave Doran doesn't have a year like that very often, and usually when he does, he finds a way to bounce back. And I'm sure that the other night what you saw was part of that bounce back against, like you said, a pretty decent East Carolina football team.
East Carolina was no slouch. I saw an East Carolina football team that struggled at times to move the football, but clearly had athletes on the field. I watched most of that game. James Watson's a diehard Virginia football fan. He says, I've got a good feeling about this team. I'm not 100% sure that Coastal Carolina is the most ideal benchmark, but we all know that we've struggled against much lower expectations in the past. from early observation, it seems like we got some serious speed out there on the field and multiple offensive weapons. I totally agree.
Well,
Playmakers everywhere.
Yeah, and that's what's been impressive about what they've done in the offseason. This team is no joke. I mean, they've spent their money wisely, and they recruited out of the portal very well. We've said it a lot about how much depth they have everywhere on the field, which I thought was pretty evident the other night. They were able to rotate offensive linemen, defensive linemen, secondary, running backs, receivers. They had I don't ever remember a Virginia team having this much depth. And I'm not saying it's the most talented roster that Virginia's ever had, but it's certainly the deepest roster that I can ever remember. And I've been covering this program for 44 years now. So they do have talent all over the field, and it's only going to get better. I mean, one of the big questions we had, Jerry, going into training camp was, could he get all these guys from every corner of the country on the same page? And they've done a really good job of that. You talk to players, even Cam Ross went out of his way to talk about that after the game the other night and said that, this is his 7th year of college football. He's been in 3 programs now, and
multiple seventh-year guys on the roster.
He said this is the closest team he's ever been a part of. But these guys go to war for each other, and I thought that was pretty evident the other night. And I don't want to get people overly jazzed up and think that you're going to contend for the ACC championship right out of the gate, but this is a better football program, and they have better football players than they have in quite some time. And I think it's going to show.
I 1,000% agree with you. And I think, after 3 challenging seasons with Tony Elliott, where the Virginia football team, Tony Elliott's football team, has the least amount of victories of any of Power 4 football.
Yes.
A team that has, 2 ACC home wins?
Yes.
If they get a win like this, like they did, there's reason to celebrate. We should revel.
Yeah, I mean
fans should enjoy this.
Yeah, I mean that's what it's all about, is winning and celebrating success, and that's what they're doing. And
we understand it's Coastal Carolina, folks.
Yeah,
we understand that.
Yeah, no question about it. You can't get overly excited about that, but it's okay to celebrate and feel good about where you are. You just have to follow up on that. And,
right.
As we've been speaking for how many weeks now about how big this game in Raleigh is, because if you can get past that game.
If you get past that NC State game, if you start 2-0, then you really should beat William & Mary and Stanford. That's 4-0. Do we expect them to beat Florida State on Friday night under the lights at Scott Stadium? No, not this Florida State team. They're real good. They embarrassed Alabama.
Yes.
Okay, but if you start the season 4-0, you should go to a bowl game. And getting 7 victories is feasible.
Yeah, I mean you only have 2 more games to
2 more
get
for
qualified.
bowl, and there's probably 3 winnable out there.
I don't think there's any doubt about that now. We're just relishing the fact that they were able to dominate somebody and to open up the season, and they showcased what we anticipated, the depth and some of the quality of these recruits that they brought in. This is not the Virginia team of the last several years. They have spent money, big money, and they have brought in some really decent football players, some outstanding football players. And if there's a weakness on this team, it hasn't been exposed at this point.
Talk to us about the tight end position.
Yeah, I mean, they have 2 guys there, Enos, who came over from Clemson. Experienced guy, and Dakota Twitty, who's a very versatile guy who can play any of the 3 wide receiver spots and tight end. They're pretty solid there. I wouldn't say that there's no Jelani Wood there like they had a few years ago, but they're certainly capable at that position, and they didn't overly use the tight end the other night, but they saw some action, and I think having two tight ends that can stay in the game under any circumstance helps that offense click more than it normally would. And we saw some evidence of that the other night.
Very well said, Huey Ratcliffe. David Tuck watching the program right now. You got print, radio, and television watching the program right now. David Tuck says, I'm surprised we only had one sack, just something to watch. Perhaps the Virginia defense did not want to reveal blitz schemes. I think it's more that, David Tuck.
Yeah,
I think it's playing it close to the vest, especially with the lead that you had there.
Yeah, and they only wanted to have a four-man rush if they could get by with it. And even though they only had one sack and that came late in the game, they did put some pressure on the other Morris. And I mean, that guy's been around. He wasn't going to sit there and get sacked if he could help it. But they forced him into some bad throws, and he got hit hard on that interception that I think eventually led to a touchdown. But they were in his face a few times, and I expect the pass rush to get better as the season goes along. But I don't think they were displeased with what they had the other night.
Comments continue to come in here. For the gamblers that are watching the program, watch that line. It's 2.5 right now. NC State only a 2.5-point favorite. You get 3 points for playing at home. So Vegas and the sharps and insiders are saying that this is pretty much a pick-em right here. That line will move dramatically if any information comes out on the Chandler Morris injury and he does not play in week 2. It will move dramatically because that line looks to me as if it's set on Chandler Morris playing and playing well. You agree with that?
Yes, no question about it.
ACC games that stood out to you. Can we talk Florida State, Alabama?
Yeah. We said on this show back in the summer that the ACC was going to be dramatically better this year. And
they look fantastic, top heavy.
Yeah, and they had probably the best opening weekend of any conference in the country.
1,000% agree with that.
And Clemson was a little disappointing because their offense wasn't what we thought it would be, and they're supposed to have the best defense in the country.
Clemson was missing its star wide receiver.
True. But even with that, I thought playing at home against LSU, they would find a way to win that game. But I'll tell you somebody else that we haven't mentioned who really impressed me was Georgia Tech, going out to Colorado and beating Deion Sanders' team without a whole lot of trouble, really.
With some shaky play calling by prime time at the end, with 2 timeouts, an opportunity to potentially tie the ball game and not utilizing those timeouts.
Yeah, we saw some interesting game management from every corner of the country this weekend. But I think Georgia Tech, people should keep an eye on those guys. That guy's done a good job with them. He's another Nick Saban disciple and has done a good job in turning the Yellow Jackets around. Florida State was amazing. I thought it might be a game, but I'll have to eat some crow here. Castellanos was he backed
up that talk.
Yeah, he sure did. He walked the walk, and wow, the people in Tuscaloosa are just they're probably still hungover from that game, and that's tough. That's not going to go down well down there for sure. But Tallahassee's jumping big time, big. I mean, that's a huge win for a team that has needed something like that for a couple of years now.
Yeah. For a coach who's fighting for his job. I mean, there's a lot of ACC coaches right now that are coaching for their jobs right now. It's not just the coach in Charlottesville and the coach in Blacksburg, ladies and gentlemen. The Florida State head coach is a perfect example of that, and he gets a convincing victory against the Alabama Crimson Tide. SMU is a top 25 football team. They beat up a less than talented East Texas A&M team. You got a Louisville football team that's got JMU in week 2. Louisville kicked the bejeebus out of Eastern Kentucky, 51-17. California gets a win at Oregon State. Cal was pathetic last year. They're winning on the road at Oregon State. Notre Dame and Miami, that's a matchup of heavy hitters. The U at the end gets a 27-24 victory. Carson Beck, I mean, this guy's a baller.
Yeah.
The only team that shocked me with their outing in week 1 was Bill Belichick's North Carolina Tar Heels, 48-14 loss to TCU.
They were pathetic last night. I watched the entire game, and probably shouldn't have, but I did. And
You watched the whole game?
I watched the entire game. I watched the post-game interviews with Belichick, and he was certainly not in a good mood. But he answered every question that the media threw at him. Some fairly tough questions, and I'll give him credit. He handled all that very well, but I was aghast at watching them play. I expected much more, and I'm sure as did he. But
I mean, he had luminaries.
They were terrible
in the stands.
Oh yeah, I mean everybody was there. Michael Jordan was there. LT was there.
Mia Hamm.
Mia Hamm was there. There was a lot of important Tar Heels in the building, but they laid a colossal egg, no question about it. And it's going to be they get Charlotte this week, so as Belichick said, we'll move on to Charlotte, and they'll get well this week. But as bad a loss as it was, it's going to be interesting to see how he handles the next 3 weeks and if he can get this team back on track.
Week 2, guys, has got some matchups to watch. James Madison and Louisville on Friday night. That's a 7 o'clock kickoff on ESPN2. That's one I'll be watching. Louisville is a team that's always got talent, and we know their fan base, as Hootie Ratcliffe likes to say, this is their pro football team. Top 15 team in Illinois travels to Duke on Saturday. That's an ESPN broadcasted game. Baylor and SMU, another game to watch. Of course, we're going to watch UVA at NC State. Central Michigan at Pittsburgh. UConn at Syracuse. East Texas A&M at Florida State. Western Carolina at Wake Forest. Troy at Clemson. Gardner-Webb at Georgia Tech, Texas Southern at California, Bethune-Cookman at Miami, UNC at Charlotte, Vanderbilt at Virginia Tech. Watch out for Vandy, Hokies. Goodness gracious, if the Hokies fall to 0-2 with a loss to Vandy and Blacksburg, ooh, Virginia Tech only a 1.5, only a 1.5 favorite against visiting Vanderbilt.
Vanderbilt won that game last year.
Vanderbilt's a good football team, a good quarterback, and a good head coach. Not the Vanderbilt team of old. Boston College at Michigan State and Stanford at BYU. Week 2 does not have the star power and matchups that Week 1 had. Recap the show with 2 minutes left as you head to a Tony Elliott press conference at 11:30. Scatter shooting for the viewers and listeners. Anywhere you want to go.
Well, it was a big splash for the ACC. I think they made a strong impression around the country in the college football world. They had kind of been written off as the worst of the Power 4 conferences, and I think they, I'm not ready to say that Florida State and Miami is totally back to where they wanted, but that's what the ACC wanted when they brought those programs into the conference, especially when they brought Miami in. They put those two in separate divisions, hoping that they would dominate, and they finally may be getting their wish from those two programs. And the rest of the conference is more balanced than it has been in a while. I think it's going to be a fun and interesting season.
I think it's going to be a great season. I think this team has got top 25 talent. This conference has got top 25 talent. I think the conference, if it shows up in the middle portion or the middle part of the conference, the teams that are kind of in that middle portion, that the ACC could be pretty darn good. And I'm very excited to see what happens in Raleigh against the Wolfpack, and I'm very eager and somewhat nervous to see if Chandler Morris plays, because this team is going to go as Chandler Morris goes. He looked real good, folks. What's in the hopper at jerryratcliffe.com?
Well, more follow from Saturday's win, and certainly reports out of today's press conference, and a look at NC State, and a whole lot more.
jerryratcliffe.com, guys, for anything UVA related. jerryratcliffe.com. He's a Virginia Sports Hall of Famer. National TV, Saturday, 12 o'clock in Raleigh. UVA, NC State, ESPN2. Judah Wickhauer behind the camera. The I Love CVille show, guys. The I Love CVille show is up at 12:30. So long, everybody. We had somebody watching Slaughter Beach, Delaware. I didn't get to his comment. Daryl Gardner.